Hello, historians. So here we are with our primary source analysis, the Black Plague. Remember, this is from my sample class, but you will see this in your Google Classroom under classwork. In a previous video, we read the plague together, the plague introduction together. Now I'd like us to go through the primary source together. So what is a primary source? Primary source is a source that was written or created during a certain time period. It's a snapshot into life during a certain time. And this life during a certain time was the Black Plague. So let's look at the primary source together. And at the top with part 1, background reading, we did that in the previous video. Boom, nailed it. Now let's move to part 2, primary source analysis, pre-reading questions. What does the prefix pre mean? Right, before. So before we read, we're going to read the primary, before we read the primary source, we are going to answer this question. So this is Giovanni Boccaccio. He was an important writer from the Renaissance. He wrote a book called the Decameron. In this book, he described the Black Plague. This text is taken from his book. So a primary source, this guy lived through the Black Plague. What? So there's his beautiful picture. There's a photo of the book. Look how fancy it is. And then you will answer this question. How do you think Giovanni Boccaccio will describe the Black Plague? And I've provided you a sentence stem that you can use to help you write your answer. So how do we think he will describe the Black Plague? We know from our pre-reading or our background reading that the Black Death killed a lot of people. We know it traveled by what? Oh, that's right, the fleas on the rats via the trade routes. Okay, so how do we think he will describe the Black Plague? I think he will describe the Black Plague like blank because blank. And now would be a good time to pause and fill in your answers. I'm going to keep going. So now we are to the reading questions. So all of the text that's in italics, the slanted looking text, is the primary source from Boccaccio. So as we read through, and I'll just do a quick scroll, you'll see italics, italics. Oh, here's something highlighted. Keep scrolling, image and questions below. So it's got some big images, and look, it has these boxes with a question above it and sentences for you to fill in. You don't have to use the sentence starters, but you can if they help you. And we can see, we can totally do this. Oh, and then we've got a box for post-reading questions. No problem. And Liza really wants to get into this too. Okay, let's get into our primary source. So let's scroll back up to the top. And remember, this guy lived through the Black Plague. Now, what year was it? Oh, thank you, he tells us. So we're starting right here. And you can follow along with me and Liza. In the year 1348, wait, why are there these little ellipses, these little dots? Those are just because in primary sources, they've cut out extra things that we don't really need to fully understand. So when you see the ellipses, just know that there were other things written there, but they're not necessarily the most important things. Okay, so back to the primary source. In the year 1348, in the city of Florence, a city in Italy, there entered a deadly disease. And when things are in the little brackets, That means maybe they used a different word, but the editor has just put in a word that we will understand. Okay, I'm going to start again. In the year 1348, in the city of Florence, a city in Italy, there entered a deadly disease. It had begun in the east and killed many people, spreading from place to place. So we've got a map, and we've got an image that looks terrible. Those people have spots all over them, and they don't look very healthy. Sick people were not permitted to enter the city. People were told how to be healthy. Religious people prayed to God many times, but in the spring of that year, the effects of the plague began to appear. The sickness began with swelling in the groin and armpits. Then the lumps soon appeared all over the body. After this point, the disease started to change, with black spots appearing on the arms, the thighs, everywhere. Sometimes they were big, but not many. Other times, small and lots and lots. These were signs of a painful death. And here is an image that kind of walks you through what people probably experienced with the bubonic plague. Day 1, they would just get these swellings called buboes in the victim's armpits or groin. These were usually about the size of an egg, but could sometimes be as big as an apple. Ooh. Day 2, the victim vomited and developed a fever. Day 3, bleeding under the skin caused dark blotches all over the body. And since they were dark blotches, that's why it was called the Black Plague, because people's skin turned really dark like black. Day 4, the disease attacked the nervous system. This caused the victim to suffer spasms. The victim was in terrible pain. And day 5, sometimes the buboes burst and a foul-smelling black liquid oozed from the open boils. When this happened, the victim usually lived. However, in most cases, the victim suffered a painful death. So the black stuff oozing out also led to it being called the Black Death. All right, what are you doing with this information? I hope you're not eating breakfast while you're doing this work. All right, use the sentence stem to describe the Black Plague's effect on the body. So you will complete these sentences. If a person has the Black Plague, first they will have, so you can look back here at this image, or you can look at Boccaccio's writing. The second sentence stem says, then the lumps will change to blank. These meant the person would blank. All right, now we're going to make a connection to present day because we're learning from home because of a disease called COVID-19, the coronavirus, COVID-19. Apparently there are lots of coronaviruses, but COVID-19 is the one that's causing us so much stress right now. So how are these effects, the effects of the Black Plague, different from the coronavirus, COVID-19? And this is the sentence starter you can use. The effects of the Black Plague are different from the coronavirus because... Well, one way I know is we're not getting these buboses under our armpits and they're not exploding into black gooey crap. So that's one way they're different. Okay, now would be a good time to pause and fill in your sentences. Okay. These are primary source images from the time that help illustrate our primary source reading about the bubonic plague. So let's go back to Boccaccio's Decameron. No doctor's advice, no medicine could help. Many tried, though, but no one knew the cause of the disease, so no one could do much. Only a few people were healed, but most of them died by the third day after the lumps appeared. Most people with the virus died without any fever or other symptoms. So there are some questions for you to answer right here. Is there a cure for the coronavirus? Will most people who get coronavirus die from it? How is this different from the Black Plague? All right, the italics mean we're back to the primary source. There were some who thought they could avoid the disease if they stayed away from other people, so they lived away from other people. They stayed in houses where no one had been sick, trying their best to not speak of or hear any news about the death and disease outside. They listened to music or did other things to entertain themselves at home. So now my question is, how are the people's reactions similar to how people are reacting to the coronavirus now? Sentence stem will help you. The people's reactions to the Black Plague are similar to the coronavirus because. And now we're to our post-reading questions. So good job, historians. All of this italics we read together, and that was a primary source. It was written in the 1300s, and we read this together. Good job. So now we're to our post-reading questions. How did the Black Death change the lives of people? How has the coronavirus changed the lives of people? And there are two sentence stems you can use. The Black Death changed the lives of people by, and the coronavirus has changed the lives of people by blank. Thank you so much for reading along with me. I'm very proud of you for reading this primary source with me. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Miss you guys.